Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey gang, welcome to episode 50, the big 50 of the Wingmen podcast. And I am joined once again by Mr. Ryan Bassham. Dude, how are you?
What's up, buddy? Doing good.
Good.
Just trying to live the dream, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you there. Well, you and I just bumped into each other down at Hunt Expo in big old Salt Lake City. It was good to see you.
Likewise, man. That was a strong event. It was super crowded and busy, which was great to see. So I'm glad that we did get to see each other, and hopefully you guys had a ton of success while you were there.
Yeah, we did. And I hope you guys had the same. I know talking to you, it sounds like you guys were very successful and left your customers wanting more, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, we didn't have enough product there for that company. So we thought we did. So no, it was definitely a success. It was a good time.
No, that is cool. That is cool. And I don't know if you are at liberty to say, but what company was that?
Yeah, no. So I think last time on here I was working for one company. Now I work for several and do a few different things. But so I was there with Peaks Equipment, which is more on the big game hunting side of our industry. It's a company based out of Bozeman, Montana, and we just started a few years ago, and it's been really exciting. It's more hard good products for the backcountry hunters campsite, and we're still trying to get things put together just how we want, but we have several products out now and they've been received very, very well. So it's been exciting to be a part of that.
No, that's cool. Good for you guys. Yeah, I swung by your booth a couple times, kind of wandering around, and there was a couple people in there from time to time that I needed to connect with as in the realm of my other job, my day job for Eastman's as the editor. So that was cool. But you guys were busy the entire time. It was good to see.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I heard a lot of people that participated at the event, whether they're outfitters, guides, product companies, whatever. Everybody had a fantastic show. So it's always good to hear and see that in our industry. So things are going strong.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a positive event, but you're right. It's more the big game side of things. I think I saw one waterfowl call company there. But otherwise, it is big.
They had the calling competition there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't get to go see it. We were too busy, but I ran into a couple of boys from Arkansas. I was like, y'all are from the South. You look lost. And it was good to see some friends from further down south for sure. But they were a little bit out of their element.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was talking to some guys from Florida, swung through the booth. Yeah. And we were talking wingman stuff, but we got talking big game, and I was like, you guys, nah, man, just stay in the waterfowl world. You'll be all right. Different, but that headlamp you guys had out there, that would cross over really well. I was looking at that going, I could use this duck hunting and big game hunting.
Definitely. And that was my first opinion as well. I mean, obviously, I cross over into all pursuits of hunting, and I love that. But it is 100% a headlamp that would be great for a lot of things. Well, and I did use it. I used it both for some waterfowl hunts as well as some big game hunts this past fall. And it works great. It's I'll dive right into it if you don't mind, but
go for it.
So it's called the Backcountry Duo. Duo because it has a white light and a red. It's got 3 white light settings, 3 red light settings. The highest lumen on the white setting is 1,000 lumens. So as a waterfowl hunter, it's almost like having a spotlight on your head. I mean, if you really want to light up, the night as you're coming into your spot or trying to get decoys set, whether that be water or field based, it really is a great piece of equipment to have. And then on the big game hunting side, I keep mine set at a low red. So when I'm coming in and out at night, I'm not spooking everything, and the battery life lasts much longer on that setting too. So it's kind of best of both worlds, a little bit of everything in between for no matter what kind of pursuit of hunting you're doing. If you don't want to be fumbling around in the dark, it's a good option.
No, it was a sweet headlamp. And by the time I was able to escape our booth for a minute. You guys already sold out of them, so I'm gonna have to hit you up for one of those later on.
Yeah,
I'll buy
absolutely.
one. You're spot on with that 1,000 lumens. When I was looking at it, Dan Picard actually had a couple of them, and he brought one when we were checking them out. I was like, man, 1,000 lumens, you can literally, I'm thinking a lot of the stuff we do here, waterfall related, especially ducks, there's a pretty good hike involved. We're hiking into spots, and we're setting up decoys in the dark. Very seldom do we have the whole big field experience. And usually if we're doing that, it's later in the day, whatever. But man, having a light that lights up everything is, especially, I don't know about up there. I know you guys have some stuff up there that you hunt that can be pretty rugged, but the water around here that we end up hunting most of the time, if you can go into a spot and maybe not have had a chance to scout it, like right down to the water's edge the day before, and you can get twisted up in a hurry in some of those spots, where you don't realize how the amount of dangerous water that's there. And with a spotlight, with a headlamp that bright, you're going to be able to assess a situation and go, yeah, we're good. We got enough room to work a dog, or this isn't going to work. Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, up here in Montana, where I'm based full time, it's more field hunting, and so it definitely has its use there. But I go back down home to Texas quite a bit, where I grew up hunting, and it's a lot of flooded buckbrush and timber, and when you're going through that type of terrain with a whole bunch of submerged limbs and whatever else is down beneath the water level, having a sure footing and being able to see what's going on it makes a world of difference. There's been several of us that have taken a bath a time or two, and a little bit of light might have saved us from taking a dip. So no, that is so true. Well, cool, man. Well, I had a good fortune to record a podcast actually earlier this morning with Baker Levitt from Black Rifle Coffee, and we got talking turkey. We got talking turkey hunting, and the conversation drifted in. Yeah, it's that time of year, right? No, it's on my brain. Mine too. The conversation drifted into those two birds off your left shoulder on the wall, those ocellated turkeys, and he and I obviously heard about them, but we've never hunted them. What is that like? You said it's a different hunt, so explain it. Totally. So I mean, most guys and girls are common knowledge around the four that we have the most access to here in the United States, and Eastern Rios, Osceolas, Merriams. Once you get down to Mexico, your Royal Slam will get you at you complete your Royal Slam with your ghouls. You complete your World Slam with bird number 6, which is the ocellated. What makes the ocellated different than those other 5 is there's not a call manufacturer that replicates the sound that they make. I've been fortunate to hunt all of them a few times, and there's just not a call that makes that sound. And so some people try to do it with an electronic caller, or it's more of an ambush for some people, and that's why some people are kind of on the fence of whether or not they want to do it. But I'm an advocate for doing it because I'm all about the adventure. I think that there's skill sets that can be learned no matter what species you're hunting, whether that be the different kinds of waterfowl around the world, turkeys, big game, doesn't matter. There's always a learning as a hunter for you to be able to continually progress and refine yourself as a hunter. And sometimes I've learned that you can take what you've learned from hunting an ocellated turkey, and actually some of those learnings may apply towards something else that you hunt later on down the road. But what makes it truly different, you're in the land of the Mayans. I mean, you fly into Mexico City. From Mexico City, you got to take a flight to Campeche, which is in the Yucatan Peninsula. So same part of the country where Cancun and all that stuff's at. But instead of being over on the beach, it's more deep into the jungle. It's an arid jungle. It's not, wet or anything like that. There's no cell phone reception, no electricity. It's, what you would expect if you were to go back hundreds of years ago and think about the times of the Mayans. And so
there's still those big white rocks that they use to make a lot of the temple ruins that are kind of still in that area, just kind of randomly throughout the jungle, which is kind of crazy to see. You stay in wall tent camps, run them off a generator, you eat what you kill, sort of a deal. So, the last time I was there, we were eating the turkeys that we hunted and some javelina, brocket deer, which I have actually that guy here too. That's
yeah, look at that.
That's as big as they get. That was actually a big one. So they're pretty cool, but yeah, I mean, it was long, hard days. You try and figure out where they're roosted, get in as close as you can. And as soon as they pitch down off that limb, you hope that they're within shooting range. And that's really the best way to do it. Other guys, the way they've done it is set up on like an ag field, and just kind of wait and hope that you catch them coming in or out. And so it's a little bit different challenge because, most turkey hunters, we love the opportunity to run and gun and get that calling interaction. And so you don't get that with these birds, but in my mind, it doesn't make them any less special. It's still a really cool adventure, terrain that I've never hunted in before. And just the cultural aspect, it was just a really neat experience. And so I still say, go for it. If it's on your list of things you want to try, it's worth it.
I think you hit on something there too, Ryan, that a lot of waterfowlers, a lot of bird hunters, wing shooters, however you want to peg yourself. I don't think we realize how much culture we ingest on our hunts and how much it's a part of what we do. And without it, it wouldn't be the same. And
oh, for sure.
And I'm not talking different countries necessarily or different places. It can be, a guy from Mississippi going to North Dakota to hunt ducks. It's a different world from where he lives, or coming out here.
All of it. Yeah. Tactics are different. Everything's different. It's an awesome learning experience.
One of the absolute highlights, I did a crane hunt in Enid, Oklahoma, mixed in some little geese. It seems like a few weeks ago, but it was back in January. We got lucky that there were any cranes that far north still, but there were, and there historically are. So we went for it, and hunting was tough. But what was part of the cool thing about going there was, the different, even like, the cameraman that I had with me was from there, and he's like, dude, you gotta have Brahms ice cream. So it's like, we're stopping to get ice cream, or you gotta try.
I didn't even think about that. Of course you don't know what Brahms ice cream is, but I grew up in Texas, and so I'm like, absolutely, you got to go to Brahms.
Exactly. And I grew up in the upper Midwest, where dairy is like king, you know what I mean? And it was like, we had ice cream parlors all over the place, and every little town had their own ice cream place. But it was really good, and it's a cultural thing. Just because it's still in the United States doesn't mean it's not a different culture.
Oh, absolutely. I agree completely. I think up and down every flyway, I've always envisioned it this way in my mind, but like, you got your 4 major flyways, draw a line across the middle of the country. It gives you 8 regions, and the waterfowl cultures within each of those 8 regions changes pretty quickly depending on where you're at.
Huge.
And it's not all because of the species of birds or the hunting tactics. It's all those other things you just talked about, like, fast food chains are different there, and the way people talk's different there, and it's all fun stuff to be immersed in.
I was teasing Harrison, my cameraman. I said, Oklahoma's, he's asking me, he's proud of his where he grew up, so he's, and I'd never been to Oklahoma. So it was it was a neat trip. It was fun. Right. He's asking, what do you think? What do you think? And I said, this is after like 3 or 4 days there. And I said, this place is interesting because it's kind of like the Midwest, but it's not.
Right.
It's kind of like the South, but it's not.
Yeah.
Kind of like the West, but it's not. It's this weird conglomeration of all these different things.
Sure.
But it was a great time. It was a great hunt. But it's one of those things that my wife and I we're going to go back. We're going to take the kids. We're going to go back to Iowa this spring and hunt turkeys. Probably mix in some Minnesota. And she's from there. My family lives there now. And she said the other day, yeah, it'll be cool because if we hunt that one farm that's south of town, we can stop at Casey's on the way through and get a piece of breakfast pizza.
And see, that wouldn't have meant anything to me probably 5 or 6 years ago.
But it does now.
It does now. Like, I've spent some time over there, and it's like, of course you got to do that. If you haven't participated in that morning ritual, then you didn't really experience the full, opportunity. So
it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's like, oh my gosh, and that I guess that's the coolest part. And you hit the nail on the head too when you said the different flyways, and then you draw a line across the middle, and it's different up and down each flyway, different regional things. The way we hunt ducks here locally versus the way you'd hunt them in South Dakota or North Dakota or down south, even what we did in Oklahoma, night and day different.
Oh, absolutely.
Night and day different. There's little intricacies. And I think if you're paying attention, I know for me, paying attention to those differences is going to make me a better waterfowl hunter overall.
Absolutely. I think as those birds migrate down, the variables in the equation, depending on which region you're in, what the weather's doing, what's happening in the life cycle of that bird, are they getting ready to breed? Are they staging for another big migration further down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It all plays into, what they're feeding on and why. And when you can start figuring that stuff out on a broader scale outside of just your own backyard, you just start to understand, waterfowl habits that much better, in my opinion. And you end up in a day where it's like, man, we usually kill them here. Like, what's going on? Well, when you have more experience and you've been around a bit, and have hunted with other people and learned from them too, you have more tools in the toolbox to go, this is what's going on. Maybe this isn't the right spot at all. Like, it's time to go pound the ground and see if we can't, find them in a different area where maybe there's a different type of food source or whatever it is. And sometimes it's a bigger adjustment than just moving some decoys around or anything like that. It's, pull up and go figure out where they're at and why they're there.
Yeah, you might have to go 30, 40 miles. You don't know. It's funny. I've had a handful of guys from other parts of the country that, for whatever reason, ended up in a blind with me out here. And they're used to hunting. They're used to hunting stuff. And most of the time we're up, it's pretty traditional. You're up early. Like you say, you swing through Maverick and grab something to eat or drink, and you head down to wherever you're going, you get your stuff set up. But it's not always like that. And the one that struck me this year was, we got cold, as did you. The cold that you and I are sitting in right now, we had earlier as well.
Right.
And our river that we hunt here locally was choked right down to nothing, and it was pushing slush.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went down and I scouted it, and there was one spot that I was like, the air temps are going to warm up just enough. There's one spot where we can get dogs in and out safely. And there's a ton of birds in there, and we're not going to blow roost or anything.
Right.
And it was like, okay. But I knew that if we went in there in the dark, it was pointless. We were going to push birds around, and birds weren't going to fly first thing in the morning anyway. So we waited and went in later in the day, about 10 o'clock in the morning, and the temperatures came up, it got warmer. It was nicer hunting. And lo and behold, the birds were flying all over the place.
Yep.
I remember having to learn that out here about these Western states, that when those temps are below 10 degrees, man, our birds don't move. They just sit. Yeah. They just sit, and you're further ahead to sleep in, get up, go out and hunt middle of the day, and you're going to kill way more birds and not be frustrated.
Absolutely. And I think that's why scouting is so important too. Because I mean, if you're really scouting the right way and putting in some real time, you end up seeing that, right? It's like, okay, well, I got up at daylight and nothing's flying. And then all of a sudden, like you said, 10, 11 o'clock, especially in temps like we see up here up north, like they're on the move. And I think that makes a world of difference. I admittedly, the first time I moved up here, was like, what's going on? That was foreign to me, and something I had to learn. And it's like, okay, all right, this is gonna be a different ball game. This is something new to learn, which is exciting. And so 100%, you gotta learn what these birds are wanting to do as things shift around.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy those late mornings though.
Oh, absolutely.
Sleep. What do you mean sleep in and still go duck hunting? Are you kidding me? I like this.
Yeah, I make breakfast burritos, take those in. I got more time to do it.
Absolutely. No, it's wild, but yeah, man, it's just cool when you start talking to people, and it goes back to, you know, what conversations I've had with a lot of people about just the culture of waterfowl, the culture of wing shooting, and we're all connected by different aspects of it, but we're all
Sure.
doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And like you talking about those ocellated turkeys.
Yeah.
I can picture what you're doing. It sounds to me like it's like a combination of a big game wall tent camp for elk and you know, or hunting mule deer. From sounds to me like the way you're talking about hunting them.
Sure.
But it's still hunting, you know. Everybody's still getting out there and doing it.
Different style. Yeah, it's a mix between like a Western big game hunt and hunting out of a ground blind for a whitetail or something. That's the best way I can sum it up, except it's like 90 something degrees. And at least the last time I was there where we were at, I was picking ticks off doing this.
I bet
the entire time. And it was, it added to the experience, you know. We were prepared for ticks, and I had no idea we were going to be in that many of them, but yeah, it was cool. The monkeys swinging through the trees and freaking pumas howling at night. It was awesome. I mean,
that sounds wild.
You have to experience it to truly appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is super cool. It's definitely one that's on my bucket list. I don't know if I'll actually ever get to do it, but it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, maybe someday. I would definitely, if the opportunity arose, it would not be something I would turn down. That is for sure. But
I hear you.
So how was your waterfowl season, dude? That's one thing we didn't get to talk about during.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I spent a little bit more time up in Alberta this year. Had some really good hunts here in Montana, spent some time working on a project down in Texas, where I'm from originally, and snuck over and hunted in a new country in Scotland, and did some waterfowl hunting over there. So that was pretty cool, but it was different. I mean, I think everybody kind of felt the pain no matter where you're at this year. It was what I would consider a soft season. We still had a good season, but you know, gosh, I mean, even here where I normally hunt here at home, like, I bet we saw a quarter of the birds we normally would have had for, you know, the first half or more of the season, really. And so they were up in Canada for a long time, clear up into January. We had birds up there. So
I heard reports that guys that were northern Montana and southern Canada, there's still birds up there. It was mild.
There was some open water in places in Alberta still in the first week or two of January. I mean, thousands of mallards and Canada geese still up there. And so what can you do?
Nothing
You go up there and chase them up there until their season.
Exactly. Quit whining and go north. But
right. Never mind. I'll catch myself. I got my jab. It's an easy drive up there. I got a bunch of birds. Whatever floats your boat.
That's a choice that I think everybody's got to make for themselves.
Hey, I'm addicted. I can't help it. I got the poke and I hit in total. I think I traveled 8 countries last year.
Wow.
Had a lot of fun, whatever. I've put worse things in my body, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think most of us probably have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So Scotland, what was that like?
It was so cool. So there's a few places, a few countries I've been to where you can just feel the excitement and energy from those guys over there. They want so bad. They wish that the waterfowl hunting culture where they live was similar to how they envision it is here.
Sure.
And a few of them have the opportunity to come here. The guys I've hunted with in Australia, it was like that. It was very similar in Scotland. And I'm not talking about the scenery and the way they hunt. I'm just talking about that love and passion for waterfowl hunting. Just ate up with it, sitting there looking at maps, scouting, all day long for several days on end, having to knock doors and try and get permission on new fields that haven't had birds on it. It's all the same stuff we deal with. Their biggest challenges is because it's not, and they don't have an industry there for waterfowl hunting, like they don't have the products we do. Like those guys are making their own calls. They're having to try and figure out, well, how do I get decoys shipped over from the United States? So can you imagine what that costs? Like,
oh my gosh.
On and on and on. Like, they just have a different set of challenges, but the love is just the same. So it was really neat. They talk funny, but we figured out how to communicate. It was a good time. We targeted gray lag geese for the majority of the time I was there, because I was there in October. A little bit later in the season, might have had a little bit more opportunity to hunt different species. I might go back this coming December and try and hunt in Sweden a little bit too, to check some more species off the list. But I would say that hunting those gray lags, from the way they decoy, how they work a spread, and even the calling is very, very similar to hunting speckled belly geese. And
Okay.
so if people are looking to make a connection, like if you love hunting specks, you would love going to Scotland and hunting gray lag. And I was hunting with Christian Lilly, who owns Aberdeen Waterfowl. Awesome operation, super fun guys to hang out with and hunt with. And I'm definitely going back. It was a blast, ton of fun.
Oh, that's, I think, maybe not everybody, but, and I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself in that hunting over there is something that I've always been fascinated with. Yeah. And to hear you talk about it's similar, doing all the same stuff, that's surprising to me, because I think for most Americans, when we think about hunting in Great Britain, we think on estates, we think driven game, or different, not like what you're talking about.
Sure. It was pretty similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, there's other countries where it does fulfill that expectation, where it's like, oh, I knew it wasn't going to be like I expected, and it absolutely wasn't. They did it totally different. It is what it is. That's how they have to do it, based on the way they've learned. And you have to kind of just appreciate why and how they do it. And I've traveled with guys before that have, they get frustrated. Well, why aren't they doing it like this or like this? And I'm like, we're in their backyard. Like, just try to understand why they're doing it. If they ask for an opinion, talk about it in a respectful manner. But you kind of just have to go with the flow and embrace it for what it is and enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess it was surprising to me to hear you say, knocking on doors and things like that. I wouldn't ever have envisioned that.
Yeah. I mean, they're same thing, trying to lock up lease ground, talking to landowners, paying them a certain amount of money so they can, keep other guys off of it. It's a lot of the same stuff that we do here. They're super proud of their dogs and how well their dogs work, and put in the time year round with their dogs, trying to train them up and get them ready. And it's a lot of similarities. And it's not like that everywhere, but I would say in Australia and Scotland, probably the most similar to what we experience here at home.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's wild.
It's cool.
Yeah, I would say so. But interesting to hear what you say about, Alberta and kind of birds being down all over the place. I've heard the same thing over and over and over, from Oklahoma to Wyoming to some of the southern states, some of the other places. I know earlier in the season, there was a big push of birds that went through in Arkansas.
Right.
But after that, it seemed like they didn't have much.
Yeah. No. And I mean, we know that certain species migrate on photo period. So they're going to migrate down no matter what. Weather doesn't affect them too much. Food sources obviously do a little bit, but they're moving. But yeah, it was a super soft season. Buddies I know over in Kentucky and that part of the world had a hard time. A lot of my buddies in Arkansas, it was weird. In Arkansas, it was like 50-50. You either had birds or you didn't, which seems to always be the case anyway.
That's what I heard.
But feast or famine sort of a deal. I made it home to Texas and hunted at a buddy's place, and it was okay, nothing great. And then went back to where I first grew up hunting, because we were working on a film project there, and got to go back and hunt where I shot my first duck, which was awesome. And it was just tried and true as always. Like, it was we had a great hunt, but it was a great hunt. It was fast and furious, a lot of birds, but not nearly the amount of mallards we normally have, and way more green-winged teal than normal. And so it's just, you could tell it was it was off. We still had a lot of food and a lot of water, so a lot of birds, but the species that we were, accustomed to seeing weren't quite there. They were still further north, I think. So
That's interesting.
Kind of a bizarre season again.
Well, I'll ask you this then. Did you, because I kind of have a theory, but I'm talking to different people about it. Did you notice more or less or about the same number of rice-breasted birds?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say probably about the same from the places I was in. I'm curious to know now. What about you? What have you been hearing?
More.
Really?
More. And we're starting to see that sacrocystis, it's called, and we're seeing it show up in big game animals as well.
Very interesting.
There were several elk killed in our area this year that had sacrocystis.
Really?
Yes. Sacrocystis, I can't remember, but it's the same thing, and it has to do with the cycle, the life cycle of the parasite. And my theory is basically a bird gets it by ingesting the parasitic eggs in the feces from a carnivore. Yeah. Carnivore having eaten the adult stage of the parasite in a bird that had it. And it's a cyclical deal, right? Yep. My theory my theory behind it is, and I didn't put this together until we started seeing it in elk and a handful of mule deer, is, all the western states are facing down drought. We've had drought for, depending on the state, we've had drought for a decade, right? Bad.
It's been so bad. Yeah.
So we've got animals that are really heavily congregated around very small water sources. That would increase the amount of predation at those water sources, which would increase the amount of carnivore feces. It would just ramp it all up.
Absolutely, because it's everything's getting congested and more exposed to that control.
Exactly. And it's just a theory. Like I said, I'm not a biologist, but it's something that I noticed. I noticed it, and there were times this year where we would get, out of a 5-bird mallard limit, I'd get 2 that didn't have rice breast.
Really? Yeah, I definitely didn't see anything to that extreme. That's crazy.
And it wasn't constant like that, but there were 2 different cases where, out of the group of guys that goes and hunts, everybody goes home and they're cleaning their birds. They're like, "Hey man, how many rice breast birds do you have?" One guy's like, "Oh, I had 1," or "I didn't have any," but somebody would have 3 or 2, or there was one batch in particular where I had 3 of my 5 mallards were rice breasted.
Interesting.
And that was a lot. That was a higher precedence than I had seen in years past.
Very interesting. Now I will say anecdotal. For sure. I will say though that my time spent in Montana, I'm chasing sky pandas more than I'm chasing mallards. And now mallards that I hunted, we got in some good mallard shoots in Alberta. I hunted there a good bit in September, and then a good bit in, November? It was November. Definitely saw a few, but nothing crazy. And then, when I was down in Texas, I can't say that I saw a ton. I hunted a little bit in Kansas. I don't remember seeing anything abnormal there, but that's very interesting to note.
It was just interesting. It got to the point where this year I quit plucking birds, because I really like at least peeling those feathers off that breast and leaving that skin on those duck breasts. I love that, but I didn't feel comfortable. It's like, you're not going to pick a breast after you fillet it. No. And so it's kind of like, you tear the skin, it doesn't work great. And it was like, man, that's a lot of work to go through if I open it up and it's rice breasted. So I just literally ended up breasting almost all of my birds this year. And, it was fine. My kids love to eat them just about any way I cook them. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was just interesting. I thought I'd ask somebody that's traveled a little more than I do, and a lot more than I do, and kind of been
around. Ask around. Yeah, no, I'm going to definitely ask around, because that's super interesting. No one brought it up, but yeah, I think I'll be paying more attention to it next year for sure.
Well, and it may be just something that we find here locally. I know that the prevalence of it that I see is higher here locally than any place I've ever been. You know, even when I lived 100 miles to the south of here and was shooting birds in the same geographical area, but on a different water course.
Right.
I didn't see very much of it.
Interesting.
And here it's quite prevalent. So I don't know if it's something to do with if they're picking it up here, or if it's a little area that, you know, that our birds are, you know, if they're coming from a specific spot up north and they come here, because we know that happens. We know birds pick a spot and they go to it year after year after year, and then their little ones continue to go to it. It's like they just keep doing the same things. And I'm wondering if we just have a pocket of it that happens to get it from a region in Canada. I don't know.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I got a wildlife biologist friend of mine. I may just see if he's heard anything either.
Well, I would be interested to see what you find out, because it's anecdotal, you know, because I know guys that, you know, in the same flyway, you know, the central flyway that are in South Dakota or North Dakota are like, no, man, we never see that. I got a buddy that hunts and lives in Minot, and he's like, yeah, dude, we never see that. We never see that.
Interesting. I'll ask around. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious, pick your brain, but what do you got coming up for turkeys?
You know, I'm gonna be staying in Montana a lot. Normally I try and hit a few new states every year. I've got some other hunts going on outside of just turkeys over the next few months, and so the little bit of turkey hunt I do will focus right here in Montana with the wife and kids and some buddies.
Man, that is tough. That is tough to beat.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, and it's one of those deals. It's like, look, I realize they're easier birds to hunt up here. I'm okay with it. It's super fun for the kids. And right now I'm in a phase of life where like getting the kids super stoked and excited on it and it being a little bit easier isn't a bad thing right now. And so we're just embracing that stage of life for us and making sure the kids are having a good time. And I've got some other non-feather adventures coming up over the next couple of months. So I'll be mixing some of that in there too.
Heck yeah, that's good for you. You talk about them not being, you know, being a little naive or a little easier.
Yeah.
Oh man, the bird, we're literally releasing a video tomorrow. I just did final approval on it, and it's my turkey hunt from last year. Yeah. It was in Montana. And that bird was not easy. I tell you what.
Oh, really? Well, good.
Super limited.
I like to earn them.
Oh man. It was a super cool hunt. The way it all worked out, just the circumstances and the way we did it was just phenomenal. But this bird gobbled once.
Yeah.
And over an hour later, he's standing at 19 yards doing one of these around a cottonwood tree. I got no footage. I got the kill shot. I got the kill shot, but it was like, I told Dan Picard, the camera guy, I was like, dude, just stay ready, because I just got a weird feeling that this bird's coming. He's just gonna show up. And it's there, and I would purr a little bit on the call, real soft. I scratch in the leaves a little bit. Yeah. And the gun's literally in my lap, camera's not on. And all of a sudden I look and there's this redhead right 19 yards right in front of me. And all it is that much of it, right?
Right.
And I said, don't move. And he turned and walked behind one of those giant cottonwoods, you know, that you can't reach around. And it was like, gun up, camera up, on. Everything was like, click, click, click.
That's what you get.
Exactly. And this bird stepped out the other side of that tree, and he could have easily just turned and gone back and even gone.
Right.
He walked to the right, and he stepped out, and Dan's like, I'm on him. And I just hosed him. It was like,
awesome.
I didn't wait, you know.
That's great. That's great. But, no, we had one similar to that last year. A buddy came up from Arkansas and we were hunting together, and here we've still got a pretty good rolling terrain, and the birds, you can find them down in the river bottoms here, but it's fun hunting them up in the hills too. And these birds I knew were roosted up on top of a ridgeline, which was kind of unique. And we could hear them, you know, and as soon as they pitched down, silence. But we had really good visibility, and I kid you not, like he was I bet he was 1,000 yards out. I wish I would have had a rangefinder to be more specific, but he was a good ways. And we would call, and he never made a sound, not once, but we could see his body language the whole time. And same thing. I bet it took him an hour to finally get to us. And when he came in hot, but after he hit the ground, not a peep, nothing. But he was still very intrigued with the calls that we were doing. And it just kind of slow but sure made his way in. And you just never know. I think a lot of people make a mistake with elk hunting too, but sometimes you just need to sit, wait it out for a minute, give it some time. Don't be so quick to rush off. Like you got all day. Just let things play out.
It makes me wonder. Success. You're right. It makes me wonder how many birds I've walked away from.
Oh, for sure.
Over the years that were coming, and I just was like, not here. Let's go. You know, stupid.
They show up behind you going, where'd they go?
Yeah. You know, or they bust you when you stand up and it's like, oops.
Right.
But yeah, it does make you wonder. That bird that I killed had 3 different shot sizes and types of shot in him other than mine.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
He had like copper plated number 4s in his in his legs.
Right.
And then in his breast meat, he had like he had a flight stopper piece of lead that looked to be like a number 6 from a federal load, and then some other fairly large copper plated pellet was larger than the ones in his legs. And then I shot him with federal premium TSS 9s.
Good grief.
And it's like, yeah, no wonder he was so hesitant. And he had spurs. He broken off a spur, and he had one other one, but he had spurs like an Eastern bird. That's rare here. You'll have to watch it, dude. I've never seen spurs on a Merriam's like
that's that. Crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, I think because they just have different nutrition here and different habitat, and their spurs are usually maybe half an inch.
Oh, yeah.
If you get something over half an inch, that's a pretty good spurred burr up here. But
no, you're spot on. I picked him up and I was like, holy smokes, you look like an Eastern. I mean, 2 inches on the one side.
Really?
Razor sharp.
Awesome. Good for you.
And the other one was broken off. So I mean,
that's cool.
It was
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but no, that's awesome. Good for you. It's hard my kids are getting to the age where they like to go and they're capable of tagging along. And my wife loves turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I have more fun going out calling in a bird for her to shoot with the kids there than I do killing one myself.
Absolutely. I don't have to pull the trigger. I just like to be a part of the game and be there to see it all go down. I get just as big of a kick out of that right now. So I don't know. I feel like too, as a family, the pandemic kind of forced us into it that first year, and I'm still traveling a good bit, but like I'm definitely spending more time at home with my wife and kids and enjoying hunting with them right now. So I'm doing a few big trips a year, and then trying to stay close to Montana and enjoy all the awesome opportunities we have here. I think that's important to do. So
no, I agree with you. And you and I are blessed in the fact that we live in places that are pretty awesome and lots of opportunity to do that stuff. You know, it's
exactly.
I got my Wyoming turkey tag in the mail the other day, and it was like, I don't even know if I'll fill it. You know what I mean? But it's the opportunities there. Yeah. And my wife got hers, and she's like, we're gonna hunt these. I said, well, you're gonna hunt. I don't know about me, but we're gonna take the kids and camo everybody up and see if we can pull it off. But
absolutely, go double up.
Yeah, I thought about that. I got a couple of spots where there's enough birds, especially early in the season, where they're flocked up pretty good.
That's when it can happen.
you pull that off pretty easily.
You pull that off. Absolutely.
Nah, it'd be cool. That'd be super cool. And anyway, it'll be interesting. But if you get bored up there, give me a holler, man.
Yeah, come up anytime. Likewise, I just like to go. I've got some buddies coming up from different places this year, and I'm always looking for an excuse to go out.
Yeah, so you and I, for some, and it's like this. I don't care where you are. It's like, oh, we need to hunt together. We need to fish together. We need to do this. We're only 3 hours apart, but
I know
life is crazy, and it's like, yeah, it's nuts. How you can be 3 hours apart, and this is the first time I've talked to you since, other than Hunt Expo, in a couple of years, it seems like. But
I know it's interesting just kind of what times around the pandemic did. Like, we were forced to all connect differently, and then so many things changed, and I feel like it's been great for our family, and it's definitely for the better. But I feel like I haven't talked to a lot of people in a while. I'm just like, wonder how the heck they're doing. I need to follow up and see what's going on. But no, I'm glad we were able to jump on and do this. I'll take you up on that offer. I promise.
Yeah, come on down, especially next year when duck hunting's good, because I know you guys are pretty hard on the cobra chickens up there around Los Angeles, but we tend to load up with mallards pretty good down here. So
totally. Well, I don't mind getting far away from Los Angeles. It's fun to live here, but I do have a little bit further away.
Yeah, it's a cool place. It's a cool place.
Yeah, it's good.
It has grown dramatically in the last.
It is. It's been crazy. It's become such a, an interesting hub for the hunting industry in general. There's a lot of companies and brands here. Heck, I helped, start one that's based here now too. It's just, it's changed a lot. It's, still an outdoorsman's paradise. Just get used to driving a little bit more to get what you really want out of the experience. So,
right. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time. We're knocking on the door of an hour, and
cool. I
appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Like I said, if you get an itch and want to come down and hunt turkeys, give me a holler. Probably get a tag leftover tag over the counter.
Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on that. And let's make it happen. And likewise, seriously, come up here. What'd be cool is if we were to time it and like really look at some maps and figure it out to where we try and double in Montana, kill a couple birds up here, and in the same rip go down into Wyoming and do it. I've hunted Wyoming a little bit, and I feel like we can make that happen.
Yeah,
it's worth a shot.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a little tougher here where we are, right where we are. We don't have a ton of birds. You get into the big populations in the Black Hills, in that northeast corner. That's where the really good turkey hunting is. But there's little pockets. And if you know where to go and pick, we can pull that off. But yeah, let's keep that. Let's keep that on the back burner for sure.
Sounds good, buddy.
Cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate your time, and have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Anytime.
All right.
Talk to you later.